Well, I'm Mrs. Goldsworthy. I'm still Mrs. Goldsworthy, and I'm still a volunteer for the March of Dimes. Today we have something kind of exciting, though. We're being taped. They want to know about reading champions across the United States of America. And so we're going to make this tape so that we can send it to various March of Dimes offices all across the United States. And you people from Indian Woods will be included in that tape. Isn't that cool? Yeah. I have been here many, many times, and we have had lots of reading champions from Indian Woods. We're usually in the cafeteria, and it's usually in the morning. So this is who I am. Do you recognize me now? Yeah. Okay. Well, as I said, I'm a volunteer for the March of Dimes. And the March of Dimes is a group of people that work to make sure that babies are born healthy and that babies are born at the right time. Because you know, when babies are born too soon, they're too small, aren't they? And they have kind of a rough time getting started. And when a baby is born too soon, it's called premature. A premature baby is one that is born too soon. And the March of Dimes is working with doctors and nurses and moms to try to figure out why some babies are born too soon. And we're trying to figure that out so that we can prevent it, so that we can stop it. Can you look up here at my banner? Remember our new color of purple? It used to be blue, now it's purple because when you put blue and pink together, you get purple. And this is our motto, March of Dimes, Saving Babies Together. And our little picture in the center, that kind of modern or contemporary picture of an adult holding a baby. Do you remember that? It's kind of hard to see, isn't it? It's not as good as that last one. I would like to tell you the story of how the March of Dimes got started. And some of you are going to remember a lot of this. 71 years ago, one of our presidents, President Franklin Roosevelt, was confined to a wheelchair because he had a disease called polio. And he was in a lot of pain. And he couldn't walk. He could only stand briefly with arm braces and leg braces. And one day he said to himself, you know what? We have got to find a cure for polio. We have got to find some way to prevent people from getting this disease and suffering like I do. So he called a lot of researchers and doctors and nurses and scientists together. And he put them to work in a hospital, in a laboratory. And he asked them to do experiments to see if they could figure out what caused polio so that it could be prevented, so that it could be stopped. And they were working along and they were doing their experiments, and President Franklin Roosevelt said, you know what? I have got to gather together some money to pay all of these researchers and to buy all the supplies that they need. So he asked the people from across the United States if they would send their spare change. And of course, he said specifically, if you could just send your dimes to the White House, that would be great. And so this program of gathering money from people across the United States, specifically their dimes, became known as the March of Dimes. Well, 17 years later, a doctor by the name of Dr. Jonas Salk discovered a shot that could be given to babies. That shot is called a vaccine. And the babies are given this shot even today to prevent them, to stop them from ever getting polio. And I would assume that most of you in here have had a polio shot. Well, even though there was a way to prevent polio, dimes were still coming into the White House. And so the group of organizers, known as the March of Dimes, decided that they would continue to collect money, and they would work now to help prevent birth defects, diseases, and prematurity, babies that are born too soon. So they are still doing the same thing today. We people from the March of Dimes, we volunteers, are still working to help babies be born healthy and at the right time. Well, as I said, I'm a volunteer, and I'm here to see if some of you would like to become a volunteer to help babies be born healthy and to become a better reader at the same time. And you can do that by taking part in the March of Dimes Reading Champion program. Reading Champions is a program where you read for 1 month during the month of March. And you read during the month of March because March is Reading Month. February is Black History Month. March is Reading Month. So we hook the Reading Champions program up to March is Reading Month because you'll probably be doing some extra reading in your classrooms during the month of March. Your teacher will probably be emphasizing or spending a little bit more time on reading because March is Reading Month. And I saw from your posters in the hall that you have a book fair coming up in March too, about the middle of March. So if you run out of reading material, maybe you can go to the book fair and pick up a few more things. Well, if I can talk some of you into becoming reading champions and volunteering for the March of Dimes, I want to explain to you how it works. There are 4 things that you need to do to become a reading champion. And the first thing you need to do is to sign up. Teachers, you will have these sponsor forms in your mailbox, and if you would give each student one of these so that they can take them home and ask mom and dad if it's okay to become a reading champion, to take part in this volunteer program, then you need to fill out the registration or the sign-up form, which is on the bottom front page of this form. It's a postcard. And if you just put your name and your school and that little information on there, put a stamp on the back, you can just drop it in a mailbox because it's all addressed to our office. Okay? So the first thing you have to do to become a reading champion is to sign up. Okay, if you're going to become a reading champion, then you have to read, don't you? And inside this form is a place that says book list, and this is where you keep track of the books that you read. Just write down the title of the book that you read on that sheet. You don't have to do any book reports, you don't have to draw any pictures. All you have to do is write down the title of the book that you read. So, 2 things now. You're all signed up. You are reading books during the month of March, and while you're reading those books, the third thing that you need to do to become a reading champion is find people to give money to the March of Dimes for each book that you read. And those people that give money are called sponsors. And on the back of this form is a place to write down your sponsors, or the people that have said that they will give money to the March of Dimes for the books that you read. Some people might say, oh my gosh, that's a good charity. I would like to give to that. I will give you 10 cents a book. For every book that you read, I'll give the March of Dimes 10 cents. Some people might say they'll give $1 a book. Some people might say, if you're going to get involved with the March of Dimes and read some books, I will donate $5 to the March of Dimes. Whatever they want to give and however they want to do it, per book or just because you are a volunteer, that's fine. All right, so we've done 3 things now. We've signed up, we're reading books, we're getting sponsors, people to give money, and now the 4th thing we have to do, we have to wrap all this whole thing up into a nice, neat little bundle. We have to collect our money, and we have to get our money and our book list to the March of Dimes office. Otherwise, we have, no idea what you read and how much money that you collected. So you have to, the way to end it all up in a nice, neat little package is to take your book list and your money to the March of Dimes office. All right, let's go over a couple of things. When you register to become a reading champion, you're going to get some mail. And it's going to be a little piece of paper that says, hey, thanks a lot for volunteering to read books and earn money to help babies be born healthy. They're going to give you some dates on there. They're going to tell you that you only read during the month of March, that you need to turn in your book list and your money at the end, and they're going to tell you the date for that, which is April 17th. But don't worry about that. It'll be in here, and it's also on that sheet. But you will be receiving mail when you register to become a reading champion. Now, you're going to be reading your books. Well, what if you have a younger sister or brother that can't read yet? What are they going to do? How are you going to read a book if you can't read? Well, during the month of March, any book that you read or any book that is read to you will count on your book list. I'll bet your teachers read to you. I'll bet maybe the media specialist reads to you. I'll bet maybe mom or dad might read to you occasionally, or maybe a babysitter. Or if you are an older brother or sister and you read to a younger brother or sister, you can get credit for that book that you read to them, and they can get credit for listening to it. So it's not just books that you read, but books that are read to you that you can keep track of. And you older readers, remember when you start reading a great big book, maybe a Harry Potter book, and your little sister's reading maybe a Dr. Seuss book, you're saying, now wait a minute, I'm reading this and you're reading that. Remember, for each 30 pages that you read, that counts as a whole book. Do you remember that? That's in the form too. So if you forget, if you get confused, if you don't quite understand, everything that I'm saying today is also in the form. Toward the end of March, you're going to get some more mail from the March of Dimes office. This time, you're going to get an envelope with an envelope. And this is the envelope that you can use to collect the money from your sponsors. You'll have to go back to each one of your sponsors and get money or a check, whatever they want to give you. And you can put it in this envelope. You can keep it in here. If you want to take the actual dollar bills and the coins up to the March of Dimes office in that envelope, that's fine. Or if mom or dad wants to write a check, then they can write a check and you can just mail it up to the March of Dimes office. And once again, this will be coming to you in the mail. You'll get 2 pieces of mail while you're a reading champion. You know, just like you are going to get sponsors to give money to the March of Dimes to help babies be born healthy, we have a sponsor. The Reading Champion program has a sponsor, and it's the E&A Credit Union. And they give us money to run this program. They buy our banner, they buy our medals, they buy our certificates, so that all of the money that you collect by being reading champions goes right to helping babies. All of your money goes right to helping babies because they give us the money to run the program. Now, I'm a volunteer, and you're going to be a volunteer. Volunteers don't get paid. They do a job because they want to do it. They think it's a good cause. They like it. And so they volunteer by saying, I will do this, just set me free and let me do it. But if you become a reading champion, even though you're a volunteer, there are a couple of things that you're going to get. One of the things that everybody will get as a reading champion is the certificate that you get each year with your name engraved on the bottom. Remember that? Okay. And another thing that you will get by becoming a reading champion is a medal. Now, the medal that you receive will depend on the number of books that you read. Remember, if you read 1 to 9 books, you'll be qualifying for that bronze medal. Now, look at that. 1 book. If you read 1 book, you can be a reading champion as long as you turn in your book list and 1 donation. So it doesn't take too much to get a medal and get a certificate and so on. 1 to 9 books, you qualify for the bronze medal. 10 to 19 books, you qualify for the silver medal. And 20 or more books get you the big, remember we started with that big gold medal last year? They're a lot bigger than the other ones, so that's something too. And I have a surprise for you this year too. Do you remember for many, many years, OCB came to the Reading Champion Assemblies and gave you a coupon for a free meal? And then last year, OCB didn't come because Old Country Buffet was closed down. And we didn't have anybody. Well, this year, we have somebody that's going to come, and it's going to be Chuck E. Cheese. I know. Everybody loves Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, I know. It's the most exciting part of the whole Reading Champion program. I don't know what Chuck E. Cheese is going to bring. He's going to bring a surprise for every Reading Champion. So along with your certificate and your medal, you'll also be getting something from Chuck E. Cheese. Now, I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you. Let's see who's been paying attention. What is the word that means a baby is born too soon? A baby is born what? What is that word? Right there in the turquoise. Premature. Come on up here and get this Reading Champion ruler that I have for you. Who can tell me the full name, I got to have a first and last name, of the president who actually organized the March of Dimes 71 years ago? I got to have a first and last name. Right here. Franklin Roosevelt is correct. Good for you. Do you know why I need a first and last name? Because we had two presidents with the last name of Roosevelt. One was Theodore or Teddy Roosevelt, and many years later, Franklin Roosevelt. They were distant cousins. All right, who can give me the word for a person who does a job just because they want to? They don't get paid, but they think it's a good cause. Way in the back in the gray t-shirt. A volunteer. Come on up and get your ruler. All right, now I have another question that is very tricky. So before you raise your hand, stop and think. I want somebody to come up here beside me, and in just a minute, you don't want to embarrass yourself on tape. I want somebody to come up here beside me and tell me the 4 things that you have to do to become a Reading Champion, and they must be in order. Who can do it? Who can do it? Back there in the pink t-shirt, come on up here. We'll see. Okay, it needs to be very quiet. And what's your name?
Brett.
Brett. And I'm Mrs. Goldsworthy. Okay, let's hear what you can do here. The very first thing that you have to do to become a Reading Champion is what?
Sign up.
Sign up, exactly. We got to know you're doing it. Okay, after you've signed up, you're going to go home, and what are you going to do?
Read books.
Exactly. And while you're reading books during the month of March, what should you also be doing? You have to go out and get
Sponsors.
exactly people to give money to the March of Dimes for each book that you read. Now, here's the tricky part. After you've signed up, you've read, you've got your sponsors, then you've got to wrap this whole thing up by doing what?
Collect the money that they'll give you and send it in.
Exactly. And what else do you have to take with you so that we know what you've read?
Your reading list.
Exactly. Good for you. Give her a round of applause. You did a great job. I have this great hat, and I have this ruler for you. Thank you. Okay. Just one last thing. Just one last thing. Mrs. Rogers and I already have a date set up for your award assembly. And I'm hoping to see a lot of you walking out of here with certificates and medals and something or rather from Chuck E. Cheese. We're not sure what. Last year, Indian Woods had 136 Reading Champions. And those 136 Reading Champions read 4,136 books. And those 136 Reading Champions raised for babies $3,604.28. Give yourselves a round of applause. it for me. I hope to see you all. I hope to see you all at the end of May, right back here, okay? Thank you. I'm all set.